Hey my dear data friends, it's Nicola from Data Mozart. Today was a really huge day in terms of Microsoft and their announcements. At Microsoft Ignite we heard a lot of really huge things, like for example, most important one, Microsoft Fabric went to general availability. But the announcement that caught my eye was related to something else. So in this video I want to focus on sharing my thoughts and my ideas about the brand new exam and certificate that Microsoft introduced that is related to Microsoft Fabric, and it's called DP600, Implementing Analytic Solutions Using Microsoft Fabric. So stay tuned, we will talk a little bit more about this exam and how it compares to existing DP500 Azure Enterprise Data Analyst certificate. Okay, so let's start, and to provide you with a little bit more of a context, DP500 is the exam that's been around for almost a year and a half, I think. Somewhere in April 2022 we got beta version of DP500, and it covered skills that are related to mostly to Power BI, but also Azure Synapse Analytics and Microsoft Purview. So I opened here, as you can see, I opened here in parallel official Microsoft pages for both DP500 and DP600. So I want to scroll down and take a deeper look into both of these and how they compare to each other, and maybe give you some hints about preparing for this new exam that's official in beta, but it will become available for taking it in beta, I think, in January. So let's go and dig deep to understand first DP500. So as I said, in DP500 focus is on Power BI and Azure Synapse Analytics. So you see the skills that are measured in DP500, and there are multiple, of course, learning paths on Microsoft's official site. Also, I created a lot of courses on DP500, a lot of content on my website. You can go and check, it's free on my website. You can also consider, I also created a commercial version of the course, basically, and I did a lot of community-driven sessions with my friend Andy Cutler. Andy will probably join our forces, I hope so, for DP600 as well. So yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So essentially, let's check the skills in the study guide for DP500. Okay, this is in German, so I will switch it quickly to the English version. Okay, so updates, that's fine, and skills at a glance. So the first thing that exists in DP500 and it doesn't exist in DP600 is Microsoft Purview. So Purview is completely omitted from DP600. That's one part of the exam that I personally disliked. And honestly, I'm happy that it's not part of DP600 because DP600 officially is called Analytics Engineer, Fabric Analytics Engineer Associate. Okay, so there is a great video from Simon from Advancing Analytics on the topic of Analytics Engineer in general. I'll share the link to this video in the description of my video, and I suggest you go there and try to understand what analytics engineer should do. In my opinion, that's a role of maybe somewhere a role that belongs to traditional business intelligence developer or ETL developer. So it's a combination of so it's somewhere between data engineer and data analyst, somewhere in between. So analytics engineers should know the principles of ETL, of course, but that person should also be familiar and proficient with data modeling stuff and performance tuning. So it's not about visualization, and I think it's also not part of DP600, but let's go back to this topic in a few minutes. So in DP500, so the existing one, the old one, we have one huge area of skills that are tested, which is related to Azure Synapse Analytics. And one of them is selecting appropriate Azure Synapse pool, then also handling and optimizing workloads in Synapse dedicated SQL pool. So those are all now gone. So there is no SQL dedicated pool, Synapse SQL dedicated pool at all, because it basically doesn't exist in Microsoft Fabric. So it's more or less, logical that it's not part of the exam. And also some things like predict function, machine learning predict function in a query, and so on and so on. Regarding the Power BI itself, because I know that most of the people that will be taking this exam are Power BI people. Unlike in DP500 where we had like 20-25% of the overall skill set was related to visualizing data by using Power BI. There is no visualization in DP600 at all. So this part with data visualization is completely removed, because as I said, the idea is to promote this persona of analytics engineer, which in the end very rarely, if ever, creates reports and creates charts, creates visualizations. So this person has a different set of tasks to perform. So visualizing data, that was huge part of DP500, is now omitted from DP600. So in DP600, let me go back just to open this one. And as you see, as an Azure Enterprise Data Analyst, you collaborate with other roles such as, this is the same in DP600. So you collaborate with the same group of people. And of course, there are different roles, there are different skill sets, different things that you need to know and to be experienced with in order to take this DP600 exam. As I said, this exam will be available in January of next year. And let's go and quickly review DP600 study guide. Okay, so I'll scroll through this, how to earn certification. Okay, we don't care about this. Audience profile, that's fine. So candidates should have designing, creating and deploying enterprise scale data analytics solutions. Okay, so components like lakehouses, data warehouses, notebooks, data flows, pipelines, semantic models, and reports. Okay, reports itself, I'm pretty sure that there will be, not reports in traditional sense, so like creating visuals, as I said, but more like providing ready data for the report in terms of creating proper data model and cleaning the data and stuff like that. Okay, so we have a Planet Data Analytics environment that's more or less very similar to the previous one, to the DP500. Let's go and compare it. Okay, so data analytics environment, plan, implement and manage. That's like a rewarding, but I would say choosing data gateway type, that's more or less very, very similar to DP500. So this part, except purview, which as I said, and I will repeat it again, it's not part of DP600 anymore. So this part is more or less similar, because doing this analytics development life cycle. Okay, sorry, that's my bad. So we have a we have a brand new feature in Power BI, which is PBIP type of file, which enables version control. So we didn't have that back then in DP500, so it's part of DP600. And that's one of the biggest differences in this area of managing the analytics development life cycle. Other than that, more or less, it's the same, I would say, with some rewarding based on how certain features and how certain services are now called in Microsoft Fabric compared to the previous one. But more or less, this PBIP thing is big. Other than that, I would say very, very similar to DP500. Create objects in lakehouse or warehouse. Ingest data by using a data pipeline, data flow notebook. So depends on your skill set. As far as I read this, you can use the option that works best according to your strengths. So if you are a Python guy, you will probably write a notebook. If you're familiar with Synapse, maybe you will use pipeline. If you come from Power BI background, then data flow with Power Query experience may look very familiar and convenient for you. Creating and managing shortcuts. Shortcuts are the feature that is exclusively related to Microsoft Fabric, so it didn't exist previously. So that's something new. File partitioning, that's similar to what we had in Azure Synapse. So we also had this partitioning strategy depending on the file size and what is the best from performance perspective. Creating views, functions, and store procedures, that's similar to what we had previously with SQL pools in Azure Synapse Analytics. Enrich data by adding new columns or tables, fine, that sounds okay. Copy data, that's just moving data from the source to the destination without any transformations, because transform data is the separate set of skills. So copy data is just choosing the appropriate method for moving data from the original data source to, let's call it, bronze layer in Microsoft Fabric, if we are talking about this medallion architecture. So transform data, yeah, more or less data modeling stuff, star schema, slowly changing dimensions, bridge tables, denormalizing, aggregating data. That all relates to data modeling. So transform data includes also data cleansing process, but it also includes and converting data. I see converting data types, but more or less it's related to data modeling skills. So for someone who is proficient with data modeling, I think this one will be very, very, very familiar. Optimize performance in data file, resolve data loading performance bottlenecks in data flows, notebook, SQL queries, okay. Implement performance improvements. That's very similar to DP500. We had this optimize enterprise scale data models. Now it's different wording, and what is important in DP600, there are no external tools involved. So as you see here on the left hand side, in DP500, we had DAX Studio, Tabulator 2, Vertipack Analyzer. Now there are no external tools. So external tools are out of the scope for DP600, which makes sense to some extent, but yeah, certainly, yeah, if you're working more with Power BI, then you will be probably familiar with these external tools, mainstream external tools, and maybe that was a good chance for getting some safe points here. But yeah, no external tools in DP600. Implement and manage semantic models. Okay, choosing a storage mode. Okay, so we have identifying use cases for DAX Studio and Tabulator 2. So there will be identifying use cases, but not direct application of these two external tools. Implementing star schema, that was already mentioned previously. Relationships, bridge tables, write calculations that use DAX variables and functions. Okay, so there will be DAX, but there will be no DAX Studio. So still you need to know DAX, and we'll come back to explain which skills and which languages you should know in order to successfully pass this exam. Calculation group, dynamic strings, field parameters, all very well-known feature for all Power BI professionals. Large format data set, that's the same as we had, design and build a large format data set, that's nice. So you see the naming, design and build semantic models. Previously it was design and build tabular models. So it's more or less the same thing, but yeah, with some additions and yeah, composite model segregations, that was also part of DP500. Row level security, object level security was also part of DP500. Okay, optimize enterprise scale and semantic models, that's more or less the thing. Okay, so sorry about, I completely missed this part. So external tools will be still included in DP600. So forget what I tell you 3 minutes ago. So external tools still good to know, and something that you should have under a tool belt in order to successfully pass this exam. So external tools will be part of DP600. And finally, there is no data visualization, that's for sure. So I didn't lie about that. Perform exploratory analytics, descriptive diagnostic analytics, perspective into visual report, profile data. Okay. Query a lakehouse in Fabric by using SQL queries, warehouse by using SQL queries, and using XML and point. So more or less, there is no data visualization, but you will still need you should still be able to write queries and query the data, explore the data, and apply some kind of descriptive and predictive analytics to your data. We'll see how this is going to be once the exam goes live. But it's good to know that we don't need to focus on understanding this data visualization part. I think this will stay in DP500 and of course in PL300, which is exclusively related to Power BI. So we will have in-depth data visualization topics covered there. Now, study resources, it's still raw. So they just announced basically that there's going to be exam for Microsoft Fabric. So we still don't have so many resources for learning and preparing. And yeah, by the way, the exam will go live in January in beta. So we can expect probably somewhere in April or somewhere around April to become generally available. So there are a lot of useful content on Microsoft Learn that I can really recommend, and you should take a look into it. But for those missing parts, I'm sure that the community will create some content around this new exam. Speaking in that regard, I already spoke with Andy Cutler, my friend from Data High UK. Please go and check his channel as well. And we already aligned on some high-level ideas about how to create content and promote this DP600 new exam. I hope we will create a kind of workshop, maybe a little bit in-depth session that we already did for DP500 multiple times. So stay tuned, and we'll definitely get you covered for preparing DP600. So my initial thoughts, just to wrap it up, this is very cool, this looks very promising, and I'm sure that a lot of people will be interested in taking DP600. And the biggest difference is there is no purview, there is no dedicated SQL pool, and there is no data visualization in DP600 compared to DP500. So if you already learned and prepared for DP500, you can still go and take this exam. It's still relevant. It will be relevant. But for DP600, a lot of skills that you already gained during your preparation for DP500 will be still useful, but you will need to spread your wings a little bit more and pick up some new concepts and some new features that are exclusively related to Microsoft Fabric. That's all I think for this video. This is just my initial thoughts, and I would really like to hear your thoughts and your comments, so feel free to drop your comment down below this video, and I'm looking forward to reading it and looking forward to creating some content for DP600, and that we all can benefit from it and successfully pass this certification. Stay tuned and see you soon.